for. I hope you guys have met some great people, made some good connections tonight. This is always one of our biggest events, but this is definitely bigger than we expected. So thank you all for coming. Very much appreciated. But these events would not ever be possible if it wasn't for our sponsors. In case y'all don't know, we are 100% nonprofit. Everything that it takes to put these on is paid for by just contributions to people who look out for women in technology and want to help us make this world a better place. So first, I would like to call up Allison from Beauty Imaging.
Really close.
Can you hear me if I do this? Hi everyone, I'm Allison from BB Imaging. We're thrilled to be here as a sponsor tonight. I actually found my position with BB Imaging through AWT, so it's nice to be here and being part of the community and networking and finding your path in life. We have a table over there. We'd be thrilled to tell you about what we're doing and building. We also have some open roles. At the very least, we've got stickers and slippers, so stop by and get some slippers for your work from home attire, and we'd love to tell you more about what we're building. So thank you, everyone.
BB Imaging has been a sponsor for quite a while, several years. We are so pleased to work with them. Everything they do for women in tech and just women in general. But next, our other sponsor, another thing near and dear to me is environmental stuff, because I used to actually be an environmental consultant. So Todd, come up here, talk about LCRA. You had to follow the mic.
Can you hear me without it?
Yeah.
See, I told you.
All right.
I'm Todd Sander. I'm the Chief Information Officer for LCRA, and we're really happy to be a sponsor tonight. I want to make mention also of my colleague, Sharon Gonzalez, who's over at our table, I think. To talk to her or to me. How many of you are familiar with LCRA? Oh, good. Well, about half or so. So LCRA was created in 1934 to stop Austin and Central Texas from flooding. Pretty good mission, right?
Yeah.
Got expanded a little bit after that when Lyndon Johnson decided it might be a good thing for Central Texas to have electricity in the hill country. So LCRA's mission grew a little bit there. Another good thing, right? So now we're doing electricity, we're doing water, we're managing the river, we're managing floods, we're producing electricity. We have a large transmission business, our biggest single line of business within LCRA, which happens to be led by a woman. How did LCRA come to existence? Does anybody know? 1934, it was created by the legislature. The authorizing signature, who signed the authorizing documents for LCRA? Anybody know? Ma Ferguson, when she was governor. So LCRA was created by a woman who had an interest in technology and dams and stopping Central Texas from flooding. So we have a long history of working with women, women being an important part of LCRA. Half of my direct reports are women. A great number of our senior individual contributors, managers, supervisors have thrived at LCRA, and we're always looking for great people. We're looking for people who want to be part of an organization that has a public mission but is able to run like a private sector company, because we're not an entity of the state, we're not a department, we're not an agency. We're created by the state, but we run like a business. So with no offense to my friend Chris at the city of Austin, we really believe that we have the best of both worlds. And so if you're interested in using your skills in technology to further a public mission and to support the people of Texas and to make their lives better, please come talk to Sharon and me. We'd love to hear from you, and we're happy to be here tonight. Thank you.
We have a great panel tonight. We're going to start off by introducing Joshua. Not really working in our favor, so just,
Good
Good evening, everybody. Thank y'all for coming. My name is Joshua Carrierre. I am with Austin Community College's Texas's Information Technology Apprenticeship Grant Program. So I help coordinate, recruit for that. Thank y'all for having me this evening. It's going to be fun.
Maze, I expect something special from you.
Anybody with their cover letter, resume, interview skills, career exploration, whatever it is, your friend, wow, you're filming? Are you expecting another cartwheel? Your friends have been with anybody, my program can help you. I've got some of my colleagues here, what's up? So if you think my interview's a little much for you, don't worry, Nancy, she's calm. We got a great, well-rounded team. If you're interested in more, I got bookmarks. Yeah, okay, here's the bookmarks. There you go. Yeah, so, positions?
Yes.
I do, however, want to get a selfie with all of you, so just one moment.
Wait, come over here. I get it. Yeah, Nicole.
Okay. Ready? 8, 6, 2. Okay, I need Austin with the chest.
Thanks, man. How it was going to go tonight. Someone didn't show up. I'm starting to think that was intentional, just so that she can make all the other panelists look bad. Thanks, babe. You're the best. Okay. Next, we have Chris. We're not expecting cartwheels.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. This is my first Awesome Technology event. This is awesome, by the way. This is so many people, but it's really wonderful to be here. Chris Stewart, I'm the Chief Information Officer for the City of Austin. I know several of you, not everybody in the room. We've always been pretty engaged with this community. It's something that we really want to make sure that we're reaching out, and we even work with our colleagues over at LCRA, Todd, and I like hiring from Todd, so please feel free to just get in the field. I'm really excited about tonight. Looking forward to having a conversation.
Awesome.
Thank you all.
Next, Megan. Why do your diva entrance of some sort?
I mean, I had to follow up Maze, right?
No, but there was a buffer.
All right, I'm turning back up then. All right, hey y'all, Megan Murray here. I'm operations manager for ATX DAO. I guess I'm kind of the wild card tonight. ATX DAO. Well, well, I've been coming to AWT events since last February. It was my first one, so I see a lot of familiar faces out there. So nice to see everybody again. Some of you maybe don't know what ATX DAO. So we are a local social organization that is on a mission to make Austin the crypto capital of the world. And we, right? So there's that's kind of the fun part of it. So we execute on that through 3 main ways. We just bring the community together through different types of events. We educate artists and businesses about how Web3 practices can enhance their businesses and the things that they're doing today. And we work with government and policymakers and regulators about blockchain technology, how it can be regulated in a thoughtful way that doesn't just totally kill innovation in the space. So anyway, thanks for having me tonight.
Side note the last event that I moderated, I was about Web3 and the metaverse, crypto. And I actually got my 16-year-old son to think I'm cool. So, I appreciate what you do. Thank you very much. But last but not least, the host of this event.
I'm the Director of Talent Acquisition here at ESO, and I am so excited to see so many of you in this space. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. I lead our talent acquisition team here in the US, in Canada, and Belfast as well. We have open positions within sales, project management, client services, pretty much across the board. So if you are looking for a new job, please come by and come talk. We also have one of our recruiters here as well. So yeah, looking forward to talking about workforce trends.
I would not be here, and this event would not happen if it wasn't for the wonderful Heather.
Yeah, I look like Sandra Dee, but act like Britney Spears. No, thank you so much. My name is Heather Schemfeller. I am the president of Austin Women of Technology. We will talk a little bit more about AWT at the end. I also work for Tech Systems, a tech consulting company, and I run our government contracts here. So very familiar with a lot of the topics that we're having tonight. So why don't we just go ahead and get started? Okay, I hope everyone can hear me. I love when tech goes wrong at an awesome tech event. But yeah, but again, tonight was all about workforce and hiring trends. So I really just want to talk about first, what's hot, right? We always hear these buzzwords, right? Megan came up and talked about Web3, you always hear metaverse. Really would like to know, what are some of the hot skills? People who are job seeking, how can they get those skills and learn what they need to obtain to get some of these jobs in the future? So Megan, why don't we just start with you? How do you get these skills and what are they?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think before we get straight to that, which is a very important question these days, I think it's helpful to know a little bit more about what I mean when I say Web3. So Web3 is effectively just the next iteration and the next generation of the internet as we know it. So Web 1 is kind of a term that you might hear sometimes. That's really about publishing and retrieving kind of read-only content. So maybe an example of that is I'm going shopping this weekend. I'm going to go on a website and see what type of store is open. So that's kind of Web 1 usability. Web 2 is about engaging and interacting. And so that's picture perfect social media. So the ability to comment and react, to get reacted to. And so that might be, that store I'm going to, they post something I like, and I comment on their Instagram, oh my God, I love it, I'm going to buy it on Saturday. So that's Web 2 usability. Web 3 kind of builds on both of those. That's really important that those two exist. And it adds this element of ownership and transparency. So how can I authenticate and validate from a technical perspective, that these things are what they say they are, et cetera, et cetera. So really Web 3 is a philosophy. It's not a technology. Technology is blockchain and crypto. So Web 3 is kind of just like the everything overarching over that. So don't be scared when you hear things like Web3, metaverse, blockchain, all of this. It's really, if you're thinking about like the skills that you have, people aren't born blockchain engineers. They learn blockchain by having an engineering mindset. So I think going into it like that, specifically in the blockchain space, it is no secret that the user experience has a ton of room for improvement. Things are clunky. I mean, you look at things that are strings of letters and numbers combined together, you're like, how do I make sense of this? So being able to take data, whether that's on-chain or in some sort of capacity, and turn it into usable information. If something like that is in your skill set, like UX design, data analytics, even, data architecture to a certain extent, project management, all of those are skill sets that can really blend in nicely into the Web3 space. So don't be afraid by something just because it sounds like crypto. There's a lot of negative press out there. That's not necessarily, had to call it out at some point, right? So I'll just go right there. But it's really just about kind of educate yourself, and those are the types of industries that I see, the types of opportunities I see within the industry.
How do you recommend getting into that space?
Just show up,
Yeah.
learn. There's so many resources out there, so many free resources. I mean, ATX DAO, we host educational speaker series. We had one this past Monday. Those are great. Those are great ways to get involved just by really kind of educating yourself, just putting yourself out there, just learning something new. I will say, at least in my experience, I've learned just by asking other people what they do, and that's how I've gotten where I am. That's it. I didn't go learn anything. I didn't do a course on anything. I was just curious and showed up.
Yeah. Anyone else want to chime in?
I will.
Shocker.
So, I'm going to take two approaches here. First, I'm going to kind of give you a general overview as a coach, then I'm going to tell you a more specific story of someone I know. So generally speaking, I'd say if you want to know what the skills that are needed right now are, a wonderful resource, as a coach, I can tell you a wonderful resource you can go to is the Austin Chamber of Commerce puts out a jobs report every single month where they aggregate all the job postings and tell you what are the top skills that are being looked for, what are the top job titles. That way you can look at that, and you're going to look at this list of skills. It'll tell you in tech, in this, in that industry. Then you look at those skills and say, what of those skills do I already have that I want to make sure on my resume, right? You may not consider listing classroom management, for example, for me, or communication on your resume, but if those keywords are coming up on job after job after job, you want to be sure that that is on your resume if you can speak to it. Now, don't lie. Don't lie. Josh and I were talking earlier about that. Sometimes you don't want to exaggerate your skills, but if you're seeing that show up on that jobs report, you want to be sure it's on your resume because that's going to show employers that you've got those skills that they want. You guys are in tech, so you probably are aware of applicant tracking systems, which are the algorithms that take your resume and scan it to see if you're a good fit or not. You want to be sure that your resume makes it through those applicant tracking systems, and one of the best ways is just making sure you've got those keyword skills, okay? So as a coach, I'm not going to tell you which skills are needed. I'm going to tell you, why don't we go together and look? What kind of jobs do you want? Let's look at what skills they are asking for on those job postings. Let's go to Austin Chamber of Commerce and check the website. Looking at the trends as we look specifically in your industry, what job titles are coming up? Are those similar to job titles you've had? Or maybe you haven't had that title yet, but you've done those actual skills. You can oftentimes talk to an employer and say, hey, when I was there, I did these things that matches this job title. Would it be okay if I changed my job title? I've never heard of an employer saying no. So that's a way that you can show those skills. So what skills are hot right now? Let's go together and look on the Austin Chamber of Commerce website, because it's going to depend on industry. Now, more specific, talking about how to get into a new space, you want to be looking at transferable skills wherever you are right now. There is some opportunity for you to gain a skill for where you want to go, no matter where you are. If you look at job postings of your target job and you think about your current role, you want to start figuring out what am I doing that's similar to these things, and what opportunities can I seek out in my current role that are going to get me there. So my partner is in tech, started as a software developer and moved through software developer, data scientist, data engineer, senior manager of engineering, and is now a software technical lead at an amazing startup. And what he continued, I know, right? I'm proud of my baby. Proud. Okay. And he, as a software developer, he realized he's good at this. Could see data is where I want to be. That's where it's at. He told me to tell all you, data is where it's at, yo. Okay. By the way, he is hiring, so hit me up. So he saw though, okay, I want to be a data engineer. I don't have those skills yet, but as I'm a software developer and I'm looking at what skills are needed, how can I take on projects that little by little get me that skill set? So that's how I say one way to break in is to start gathering those skills along the way. Another way is, sorry to say it, networking, meeting people, right? Like now you know that I got somebody who's hiring in tech right now, so you're gonna want to hit me up because he will be great to. He's great to live with. I'm sure he's great to work for.
No, that's a really good segue. I always say network before you need it. So it's amazing that you're all here. But raise your hand if you're actually live in the job market. And if your boss is here and you don't want to raise your hand. But yeah, so many people are here because they're looking for a job, right? You're networking.
Yes.
But if you're not looking yet, right, this is the time to get involved into an organization. So AWT is a great one, obviously, but network before you need it. But that kind of leads me to my second question. The hiring trends have changed a little bit, right? LinkedIn's a great tool, and it's always great to like put your brand out there, but it's not enough just to use social anymore. So Josh, let me ask you, what do career profiles look like these days? Tell me more about what needs to be on a resume, LinkedIn, and past that.
Yeah, I think let's go past that because most of us know what a resume, a cover letter, and a LinkedIn profile looks like. It's really that walking profile. You know, you're your person, and then meeting other people. When you network, they can advertise for you. Say, hey, I know this person that's really good at this role. Let me call them up and see if they can work for us. I think that's a really good way. Also, like volunteering and doing community service. You know, a lot of the ladies that you work with are volunteering and they spend their time. You're going to be able to meet some really passionate people doing that. LinkedIn's always a great tool, of course, and if you go to premium, you're going to see all the different tools that you have. But if you don't want to do all that, just talk to your friends, talk to your family members, and people like Heather. Heather might see you, and she'll be like, hey, I know this guy, he's good for this job. So that's how I go about it.
Yeah, leverage your connections, but leverage those second connections. And I don't just mean the nifty little tool on LinkedIn that shows the second connection, but people that you've met that you know. So absolutely leverage them. Chris, I know hiring's been huge at the City of Austin. What do you think?
I definitely agree with everything. One thing I do want people to understand is you're looking for a tech job. Don't forget your business skills and the other types of skills you have. And that's one thing I really look for. You know, a lot of people have tech skills, but you're applying it to a business. You know, when I send you out to talk to a department, I need you to understand what they're doing. And so you're going to have a technical background. You're going to have the technical lingo. But frankly, the other side is much more difficult for me to find somebody who can relate that technical information to a business unit, to a director, to an executive, sometimes to a mayor and council. To me, that's really important is what are you going to do with your tech skills? You may have gotten a cert, and that's great, but where do you apply it? Where do you see yourself applying it? I also really like people that, I think at tech for a lot of us, especially early on, it was kind of chasing the money. What was going to pay a lot? Was data going to pay a lot? Was security was going to be the big thing? Let's go do it. Find something that you actually enjoy. Like if you enjoy a certain suite of applications and a certain business line, if you're in law, you like that, follow that path. And I know so many great technical people that started off just being a user of a platform or working in a certain industry, and they really liked that industry and the mission. And they like tech, and they learn the tech part. I've helped a lot of people do that. I've helped dispatchers that are now one center become application analysts and then account managers of that software package. So it doesn't necessarily have to start with the tech. It can start from your interest and what you really love, and then show that to the prospective employer. I love seeing the other side of your tech skills because they really, really matter. They're the things that, for me, kind of really separate the cream of the crop.
Yeah, make those skills transferable,
Absolutely.
right? You don't have to do them in your day job for them to be relevant skills that you're great at, so absolutely. Okay, so the economy. I feel like that's an elephant in most rooms we walk into right now. So I know many people, there is a job board. So again, if you are looking, make sure that you put your information in there. But I think a lot of people are fearful of how the economy is going to impact them. So my talent acquisition queen, Erin, what are your thoughts on that right now?
Yeah, I mean, short answer, it affects your decisions when you're out there interviewing and looking at companies. And it should. If it's not, let's have a conversation about that. But, you know, I think as a candidate, it is a really tough time because of a multitude of different reasons. So I'm going to talk about it from a recruiter standpoint. And I hope my recruiter here doesn't get mad at me for giving you guys some of the inside tips. But you really need to think like a business. Okay, you know, can I take a risk right now? Am I in a financial state in order to take a lower paying job? When we're looking at the recession too, you know, are companies paying out their bonuses at 100%? Does equity make the most sense right now? It may not. You may be looking for a job that has a higher base because of the looming recession and economy. So to that point, when you're interviewing and talking to hiring managers, ask them, say, hey, last quarter, what did your team get paid out from a bonus standpoint? Was it 100%? Was it 75%? What are you expecting to see next quarter? And you have to think about it from that perspective, and also thinking about when you're talking about compensation with a company, who gives the number first? It's always push and pull with recruiters. But one tip, especially right now, is know that all companies are looking to save as much money as possible. So don't offer and don't accept something lower than what you deserve at the end of the day, just because a company is trying to save their budget at the end of the day.
That's so good. Yeah, agreed. Okay, and I think about industry shifts as well. Megan, you recently did an industry shift, and I feel like there's a lot of people maybe trying to get into the tech space or trying to go from nonprofit tech into healthcare tech, things like that. What would you say about the economy impacting industry switches?
I mean, it's real. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt is out there, but so is your confidence and your self-worth, and that's what people pick up on. It's not all this other stuff. There's always other ways you can contribute. I think of so many people I know that participate in the gig economy. I do all these other things, but I also recognize that I have value in smaller capacities as a consultant to other projects. They're not looking for someone full-time. I don't want to be full-time. It works out great. So don't sell yourself short. Don't think that you have to commit to just one job to be your lifeline. Because at the end of the day, that relationship between employers and employees has changed over the past 50 years, and there's not as much, commitment. We see that, all the headlines we've seen, so-and-so, Amazon, all these layoffs, all of these things. It's a lot. So why put all your eggs in one basket yourself? I think, the way I have, in previous worlds kind of talked about diversify your investment portfolio. Well, diversify your professional portfolio too.
That's
You
so
don't
good.
have to be just one thing.
That's so good. I'm hitting 10 years at my company next month, so but again, it doesn't even have to be big companies. I'm not going anywhere. Texas would love it. That's a great point. That it is. It's all about diversifying. And actually, so Maze and I were on a podcast together, which literally, can you imagine? It's so fun. We talked way longer than we should. But no, I mean, job seeking is a full-time job, right? And you have to make sure you show your personality. And she told me once that she was like, a resume is a performance working document. But so people who are job seeking and maybe feeling a little discouraged right now, give us some motivation. What would you say?
You're awesome. So I'm gonna say, I work with people all the time who are on the job market, right? And it is so discouraging for people, especially because in a capitalist society, we often feel that our value is equal to our job and our wages. So if no one will employ you, you feel worthless. First of all, you are not worthless. It is not your fault. We live in a broken world. But also, a way to help yourself is to have a community, honestly. Have a community, have people that check in with you, have a coach if you can. Make sure that you set some SMART goals for yourself. Are y'all familiar with SMART goals?
Yes.
Set SMART goals for your job search so that you can see this is what I have done. These are the things I've done going forward. So setting SMART goals is a great way to stay motivated. Having someone that you check in with, whoever.
Yeah.
That you check in with that help to motivate you. Having your friends look at your resume and tell you the value they see in you. So often I talk to people and they feel like they are worthless, like, oh, I'm not that good. I see that resume, I go, oh my, look what you've done. Like, I can't even imagine. And I want each and every one of you to send your mom or whoever's proud of you your resume and have them gas you up because you are worth it, okay? So setting goals, having someone who's going to help to keep you positive, keeping track of what you have done are all ways to stay positive in what is for everyone a really hard job market.
Yeah.
Being on the job market is hard. Imposter syndrome will kick your butt. It's not you, baby.
Yeah.
It's society, okay?
Yeah. And if you're an AWT member, we'll clap that. Yeah. If you're an AWT member and you're not in the Slack channel, talk about a hype community. Come make sure you find us. We'll get you into the Slack channel. But yeah, that's a great opportunity, right? Leverage your network for these things.
You're
Review
already
resumes. Have someone hype you up, right? Mental health crisis. Everyone was trying to feel like they belonged to an organization. It was hard when you weren't in a physical space. So I actually just heard this stat that I guess 7% of jobs are now fully remote. So a lot of companies are going to that hybrid model because they felt like their culture's productivity went up, but culture and happiness and again that like sense of belonging went down. So I'm gonna read this one so I don't mess it up. As a new employee, how can I learn the company culture if I'm working remotely or my team is remote or hybrid? So Chris, y'all went remote overnight. So what are your thoughts when you hire someone new? How are they getting adapted into the culture?
So I think definitely when you're interviewing, especially if you're not used to being remote, it's a different world. A lot of people remote for years and years and years. It's never been a problem. But for a lot of folks, it's new. So make sure, first of all, when you're applying, that that's something you really want. It may not be for you. I mean, a lot of people prefer a hybrid. A lot of people don't want to be fully remote. I don't want to be disconnected globally or even different states from a team, but maybe you do. So I think that's important too, is to know yourself and make sure you're getting into a position you can be successful at. In my organization, we're about 70% fully remote, about 20% is a hybrid because they choose to be. We've got about a little less than 10% that have to be on site. So we're very, very remote, and that's our norm.
Yeah.
I made that statement that that's how we're going to stay unless the city manager says otherwise, but I don't see that happening. But so we've had to kind of learn this too. It's really important to know your chain of command, so your supervisor, make sure they're aware of how to do this. Your supervisor may not be good at managing remote teams. So you may have to do a little managing up, and you may have to be much more active in this approach. As a matter of fact, you will have to be more active than you used to be. You used to be able to go and walk around to cubicles. When you're remote, you can't do that as much. But don't think you can't. Don't think you can't just reach out to somebody on Teams or Zoom or whatever you guys are using. Slack channels are great.
Yeah.
Don't forget that just because you're not in the same room doesn't mean you can't connect. So it's really important to make sure you're doing that. You're meeting with your supervisor, you're meeting with your teammates. Take the initiative. I think a lot of people just kind of don't take the initiative. They kind of sit back and like, well, I guess we're not having a team meeting. I guess that's not how this culture works. Make it the culture. If it's what you want to have happen, go ahead and do that for yourself. Mentorships are really important. Reach out. Those have always been kind of things that we've done remotely. I've reached out to mentors in email back in the day. So we have actually better ways of doing it remote now. So I just want to make sure people they're being very, very proactive in how you do this. Reach out for communities within your organization. There's a lot of affinity groups, lots of really cool things to do, like Awesome Women Technology. So being remote doesn't mean you have to be disconnected.
That's so good.
That's really, really important for people to know. And you're going to have to really try a little bit more. And do remember, a lot of your supervisors, managers, the old folks like me, we're learning how to do this. Where a lot of you may be coming up through your career in this world. It's just normal. You know how to do this. Your bosses might kind of suck at it. You might have to help out, but you can lead that. And I think that's an awesome way. I wouldn't work for a boss who would kind of shoot you down if you had a great idea of how to do remote work and how to do remote team building. The other part is do get together. If possible, if your remote team is within Austin or Texas, I've got folks working all over Texas. We still try to come back once in a while. I really encourage work groups to come back together, work as a team, spend a day. I bring my team back one day a week just so we can all be there. We don't like the drive, but we love being in the same room together, and we get to talk face to face. It's really great. So try your best not to be 100% remote. These events are really important. Get your face out there, but be much more proactive. It's how we're going to have to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm fully remote, don't have a desk anymore, but Joe and I are on the same team. So our one-on-one next week will be walking around town late, right? So I agree, it doesn't have to physically be in the office. So absolutely. But no, Aaron, I love that you acknowledge for those job seeking, asking the direct questions, like what was your team paid out? Are people getting 100% of their bonuses? Or how has that impacted that? So I love the direct questions. How do you recommend job seekers to ask about culture?
Yeah. So culture is such an interesting topic. When people think of culture, they think of the ping pong tables, the beer kegs, but it's really how the company operates. You know, how do you work with your team member? How do you work with a cross-functional team member? And so when I first started at ESO, it was January 2020. So I had 2 months in the office until we went fully remote as well. So I had made some initial, connections, but to be honest, were all pretty surface level within 2 months. So I had to build that connection to the culture remotely. And so 2 of the big things that I see are intimacy and credibility. So you need to create that credibility with the people you're working with and with the company, but really to the point of, okay, how can I connect my culture and the way I behave to the company's culture? So you first need to understand. You need to seek to understand and be painfully curious about the company's culture so you can then embed yourself in that culture. That credibility and that intimacy then turns into connection and reliability, and ultimately some job security in that too. When people say, yeah, Josh is my guy to go to when I need X done, because he learned early on, how we operate as a business. So I think those are some of the things that, I've seen work for myself and for others as well.
Yeah, and it's about being a culture add, not a culture fit, right? Absolutely. So you might not have to identify with everything that the organization is doing, but it's a culture add there for sure. But no, Chris, you mentioned something as well, mentorship. I think that's the biggest thing when people come to an AWT event and I ask, what brought you here tonight? They say, I'm looking for a mentor. And a lot of times I think people think of a mentor at their company, but sometimes it's so key to have a mentor outside. So how do you find a mentor, Josh? That's something y'all do.
Yeah, that's a fun thing to do. Thank you for this question, because it's a two-way street. Mentorship is a two-way street. You have to find somebody that is willing to do that, the capacity. Sometimes employers assign somebody as a mentor to somebody else.
Forced mentorship, so
Oh, no, that's not fun. Right? It's not fun for either party. So we understand that. But let's do a little exercise. Turn to your neighbor, okay, and say neighbor.
Hey, neighbor.
No, you got to say it. Say neighbor. Hey, neighbor. Will you be my mentor?
Let's keep this is great. We can do this. You can ask the person next to you in the room, what happens if you're remote? Obviously, you can team someone and say, hey, will you be my mentor? But you don't get all the warm and fuzzies. What advice for the remote or hybrid mentorship?
Once again, it doesn't work for everybody.
Okay.
So if you're a mentor, it's this person you really want to be around, cool, y'all gonna make it work. I mentor a freshman at the school. He's a first-year freshman. We want to make sure that he continues going on. But I have to adapt to his schedule, and he also has to keep mine in mind as well. So I think it depends on the person, but hybrid, right? You might as well have a hybrid approach to it. Sometimes you want to meet in person, hey, I want to sit down and have lunch with Chris, but other times I might just be able to call him because he's on the road. Or I might want to talk to Wayne and Wayne's not available. He's not available that day, but let's talk for 30 minutes on Friday before we clock out for the weekend. So it just depends on what you need. And then, find somebody in the community. We talk about networking so much, but that's where the clarity comes with your mentor. And if your mentor is cool, then you're going to have a good time.
Yeah. And something I do want to bring up, I went to an Austin Technology Council event a couple days ago. I saw a couple of you there. But it was saying leveraging mutually beneficial relationships. And it's okay that a mentor-mentee relationship can end. Sometimes you get that time, right? It needs to be mutually beneficial. So I agree, and that's why I think cross-generational is so amazing. Again, I could plug AWT all day, obviously, I love it. But that's why I think rooms like this are so great, that people can learn from each other. It's not a hierarchy thing or anything like that, so.
There's a mentor here for everybody.
Agreed.
Today.
Agreed. No. Okay, we want to open up to audience questions. I can be the walking mic, if we want to do that. Who's got it?
Have people come down.
Okay, who's got like a burning question that they got to get asked?
Here.
I can keep improv all day though.
I'm very loud. Say your question, I'll repeat it for the group.
Yeah, I got a question.
Okay.
I'm interested in you. So you mentioned a lot about going into
Is that Chris?
remote work. Yes, Chris.
Yeah.
Scenario. One thing that my company's been struggling with is we were very much on site, and then since the pandemic we've gone remote, and we hire a lot of entry-level employees. And being that we are remote, we're losing a lot of that collaboration and hearing other people on the phone and getting their workflow in place? Like, how do you combat and keeping your training on track in a remote work environment?
Ooh, great question.
Okay, so let me repeat the question in case anybody didn't hear it. So how do you keep your training, especially for new hires, on track with the remote environment, right? Especially when normally your training and onboarding is something you do in person. So how do you do it once you're remote? Chris?
So your company has to, and your boss, and that you have to commit to it and do something different. So what we did is in my department, we created a whole new onboarding program, something that we had never done before. The onboarding was really the day you show up, we start walking you around, you meet new people. But now that doesn't happen anymore. But there's another side of it. Now when we onboard, we bring in, about once a month we do it, so that's 2 pay cycles for us. So it's a smallish department, but that's 5, 6, 10 people sometimes. We bring them in remotely to do the onboarding right now. And it's 2-day, half-day session, it's 2 half days. We bring in the executives so they can see us and meet us.
Like over video?
It's all over video. We use Teams right now.
Yeah.
So they get to use the platform and meet everybody. They get to learn about each division, each program area. They meet each other. When I always do, I kind of kick it off and I make everybody introduce themselves. Where are you? Where'd you come from? What work group are you going to? So really, it's actually a little better. Instead of onboarding the one person with the one team they go to, we get to now onboard people as we're CTM. That's our department. You're now a member of CTM. You're our department now. Here's everything that we do together because you have a piece in all of this. So we really try to tie people in. So for the onboarding, I feel like it's actually made things better. We're more of a department now than you're on this team and you're on this team, which kind of from day one we kind of siloed and we created those and kind of supported it and strengthened the silos because of the way we were doing this. So for me, it's actually think about the positive aspects of that and what you can do. I think the add to is really important. How do you add to what you may have had, but you can't throw out the book that you used 5 years ago. Start over.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Like work with your HR, work with your recruiters, make sure maybe first dates aren't just as soon as possible.
Right.
But
Or
like, is
going
it
out-
always the first of the month? Is it always the
Yeah.
last of the month? Or is it always the first of the quarter?
Yep.
Yeah, so that you can have these kind of like pledges, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's great because you're holistically getting to know an organization versus, like you said, just a specific silo. And I think so many of us tie our identity and success to performance. And so now you're already feeling adapted into the organization as a whole. So I think that's a great point. Yeah.
Okay, question.
May I make a comment that's
No.
related?
Maybe. Quick.
Okay, I was gonna say, on this line, so smart. On this line, my partner, one time he started a remote job and he went and set up a meeting with like a smattering of people, just a little 15 minutes meeting and said, hi, nice to meet you, tell me what you do.
That's so
and he
good.
just went and made these meetings and he got to know people all across the board and he felt more like he was there. So I love what you're doing. Also, if they're not doing that, if you're trying to figure out how to fit in, you can go make those meetings. They can always say no if they
Yeah.
want to meet with you. But if you make those meetings, you're going to meet people in certain
That's like the walk to the water cooler aspect.
Yeah.
That's when you used to meet people and see people in different. Yes, we actually at Tech Systems have a virtual water cooler channel in Teams. You have it at Schwab? Love it.
and seen.
And see.
Okay, question over here.
So I have a question for Aaron. I've lived in Austin for 30 years. I've seen a lot of recessions come and go, a lot of people come and go. Is it safe to assume that with this coming recession, because companies are actually trying to save money, that the only people that are going to be hired are probably 20-year-olds and 30 and 40 and 50 are probably just wait until you die or...
Please don't.
Okay, yeah, so the question
Good question,
is,
though.
with the coming recession, are you screwed if you're old? So, because they're trying to hire at the lower salary levels, is it best if you're a newbie, right? If you're in your 20s and you're okay with living in a cardboard box under the freeway. Those of us with families, like, what are we supposed to do? Is that basically your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
And get paid what you deserve. Yeah.
Yes, how do you get what you deserve, especially if you have mortgage and kids and you're not
Yeah.
a child? And so, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you expect?
Who were you
Aaron.
asking?
Aaron. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
Not asking
no,
me.
I think that's a great and honest question. But I think, honestly, it's the opposite. I think that the younger generation is more at trouble during this because companies are really looking for, okay, who's going to be able to get the most work, the hardest work done that's going to increase the bottom line. And it's more of those experienced people, to be completely honest. But to that point as well is, okay, are they going to pay top dollar for that as well? I think that companies, especially with the state pay transparency laws that are out there, California, New York City, Washington, we are on the right track to equal and equity across, pay transparency and things like that. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But I think that, there are so many different roles out there, but from what I've seen, it has been on the more experienced side.
Question.
You want to chime in, Josh?
I'll chime in real quick. I think you should be encouraged, especially if you have a lot of experience. We work with apprentices, right? And they're college students. Sometimes they come back and they're 30, 40 years old, or they could be 70 years old. And they still are able to secure these jobs, right? It's about your personality, your perseverance, how well can you do in the seat that they put you in. And just know that you're valued and you're worth it, and you can secure that position if you want it.
Okay.
So I kind of have a follow-up question, talking about experience. How important do you think companies find certifications and degrees in something that you have experience in? Like, I've worked for my current company for 10 years, but I don't have the certifications that some of these positions in newer companies are looking for, although I've been doing that job. And, like you were saying, being able to have those transferable skills is great, but how important is the certification?
Okay, so the question for the audience in case you here is, I have skills that are transferable, but I may not have a certification. So how important is it for me to get certified in my skills versus just put it on my resume?
Very short answer from a recruiter. It matters when you don't have experience. It doesn't matter as much when you have experience.
Ditto. I was going to say, don't get it just to get it. Exactly. If you've got the experience, absolutely. But if that is a skill set that you have a gap in that you're trying to tap into, that's a great way for them to see that you're hungry, you went out and got the knowledge, and now you can apply it. But don't just get it just because you feel like you need it.
So when you're seeing that on a resume, or when you're seeing the key qualifications for a role is something like Six Sigma, right? Like, if you don't see that Six Sigma qualification in the resume, but do you go and look at the skill set to see if they have those project management experience roles versus just the certification that's maybe on the job rec?
So repeat the question. So repeating the question is, when they're evaluating resume and the job requirements say you must be certified in X, how carefully are they looking at the resume to see that certification, or are they deducing from the experience that they actually have those qualifications?
Yeah. I think to the point of Mace and Josh, look at those certifications and what are the key points from those certifications that you can then put into your experience. Mm-hmm. So for Six Sigma, I'm not that well versed, but if there's a certain course or criteria within that about project managing a project of $2 million, whatever, you can know that that's something that the hiring manager is going to look at and put that into your experience in your resume rather than just having a certification. To be honest, whenever I have hiring managers ask me about certifications, I say, okay, cool, what do you really want?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would say, don't over-certify. That's a big red flag for me.
Agreed. Say that one more time. Yeah, that's huge. Say that one more time.
Do not over-certify, especially during downturns. A lot of people go back to school.
Yeah.
A lot of people use the time. COVID's a big one to get certified. We call them paper tigers. Have you ever heard that? Over-certifying shows me that you can pass a test, but you have to have those skills. Certify your knowledge. That's what it's called, a certification. Think about what the word means. You have experience and knowledge, and you're just certifying through something that's that we can all look at and say, okay, you've reached a certain level. Education's a little different. Some companies demand it. That's coming down now. Please, please, please don't over-certify yourself. If I see a whole lot of letters after name, I don't think super smart person. I think, they just like taking tests.
Yeah. I agree. I'm glad you didn't help me get into a tech organization, but I think people are just looking, did I graduate from a 4-year degree? But that's also changing, right? They're looking at experience. They care more about the boot camp because that's the experience you did versus that. So
It sounds like, though, what I'm hearing is sometimes people have imposter syndrome and you think, I don't have every qualification, so you don't even apply. Don't do that.
Yeah.
All the research shows that, I'm so sorry, white men will apply for a job that they think, hey, they might possibly ever be qualified for, as we're more likely women are like, oh my gosh, I don't meet 90%, I shouldn't even apply, why waste their time? It's not, and my partner told me, do not disqualify yourself. That is not your job. Your job is to show the company, here are the skills I have to bring. It is the recruiter's job to say if you're qualified or not. So even if, thank you, apply like a white man.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? Okay.
Actually, I have a feeling that May's answered my question.
Ask it again.
What I was going to flip the previous questions to say, okay, you have the certification, but let's say you don't have the direct experience.
Okay.
It's the same similar question that just flipped.
Okay, so what do you
But I think
do?
May's answer is probably relevant.
So what do you do if you have the certification, but not the experience? So you just have the degree, but nothing.
And that's when we look at transferable skills and
Yeah.
the way that everything you've done before has led you to this moment. And I guarantee you work with a coach, like me, and I will help you figure out what have you done that is relevant experience in some way. We will milk it. We will find it, but we're not going to lie. We are not going to lie. Okay? We're going to rethink what we have done, and we're going to tell our truth. You have something?
Yeah, I think you have to interview well also.
Yeah.
That's something that we haven't really spoke about as much tonight, but
Yeah.
when you get, let's say, all right, let's bring them in for an interview, man, you gotta kill it. Chris is looking for certain soft skills. You need to know how to work, how business works. You have to display that to people, and that's what we work with our apprentices on. Like, yeah, you got this degree, it might be a certification, a bachelor's, associate's, whatever it may be. You still have to win that job. It's competitive out here.
It is,
And for entry-level jobs and all things. So just win them over once you get in the door.
And Joshua, who's the one that coaches those students on those interviews?
Oh yeah, me and then Maze, and then, and I got my team over here too.
Yes.
Raise your hands, man.
Wait, what's up? You got a question, I think, right?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Do you see more companies hiring contractors
Ooh,
to
love this
eliminate
question.
those benefits than a full-time employee?
Okay.
And should I be looking at, for positions as a contractor?
Okay, so the question was, are a lot of companies looking for contractors so they don't have to pay the overhead costs of benefits and whatnot? And should I consider becoming a contractor just so I can get my foot in the door?
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Go for it, Chris.
So I hire a lot of contractors. In the city, we very specifically do not hire contractors to get out of not paying benefits. Council actually looks at our numbers and they make darn sure, like, why can't you hire that full time to make sure that we also have, our living wage and our contractors have to be paid that. What I hire contractors for is typically a skill set that I can't hire myself. We're a local government. We can't pay the amazing prices for some of these, like especially getting like data science, that sort of thing. I can't pay that. So I use contracts usually to supplement if we are down for a little bit while I'm gonna hire. But a lot of it is I need a certain skill set for a project, for something that we're doing that I just can't find that elsewhere. And a lot of people love being contractors. It's very free. To your point, you can do lots of things as a contractor. You can have lots of different people, so you can do whatever you want as a contractor. There is a lot of freedom there. It pays well enough where you can, as long as you've kind of got your stuff together and you can manage your own healthcare, manage your own retirement. If you're stable like that, a lot of people love, hey, why not take the money and the flexibility?
Yeah.
But I'm kind of I like stability, so I want a job.
I think it depends on the budget
Yeah.
section. Yeah, exactly.
Looking at the workforce trends though, I think we learned a lot from COVID,
Yeah.
where there were layoffs and then people hired them back on full time, and
Yep.
now we're doing layoffs again. So I think the trend is going to be in contract, where
the second half of this year where people's numbers go up and they did their layoffs. They've learned that lesson and they are going to hire contractors first instead of those full-time roles. So if I had to bet money on it, that's kind of what I would see.
Yeah, and contracting doesn't have to be as scary as it sounds, right? I know, Chris, you love stability, but I know plenty of people who have contracted with the same talent acquisition company for a decade, and they end on a Friday and start at a new place on a Monday, and that's how they're getting all these different skills and industries. So absolutely, it doesn't just mean it's not stable.
Do be sure though, if you're contracting, that you make sure that you are getting paid more, right? I coach because students ask me, oh, it's a contract job, and I say, okay, that's great, but let's talk about this is like how much more money you need to make as a contractor for the tax burden and the healthcare and all these other things. Like make sure that you look into that. Don't just take it because, oh, I just need a contract job, and you end up really shorting yourself.
Yeah.
So you gotta look that up.
All right, and that one over here, and then one more over here, and then we're gonna have to call it because we have a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Who is next? Yeah.
Hi, I just wanted to ask you about, I think Maze and Chris, you touched earlier on tech skills and business skills, but what I want to ask about is how important 21st century skills are, or sometimes known as soft skills or human skills, when you're looking to hire someone. And for those that don't know what those are, there's things like problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration, empathy, those sorts of skills. Are they something that comes into play when you're hiring someone? And should you, this is probably a question to you, Maze, be putting these things on your resume?
Duh, yeah.
Wait, let me repeat first.
Do you want to repeat it?
Okay, Maze.
Do you soft skills?
Would you like to repeat the question?
The question is, how important are soft skills?
Yeah.
Can you give the list of soft skills?
Communication, teamwork,
Problem solving.
collaboration,
Creativity.
critical thinking, creativity.
Empathy.
Empathy. Ooh, empathy. That you cannot teach, so that's important in my opinion.
So we all
Unteachable skills.
well.
Some of them might.
No. Yeah.
So we also call
Maze
those
can teach you.
core competencies. Core competencies, now they're called soft skills. They are, and if you look like I do at the Austin Chamber of Commerce skills list, most of them are soft skills.
Yeah.
Communication, teamwork, collaboration. So you want to demonstrate this on your resume. Now don't just list them. I mean, you can, but like showing examples of how you use those skills on the job. Now let me tell you what makes me pull my hair out and scream. Recruiters, are you with me? When people say things outside of the box. Teamwork. You just put that word. It's
Yeah,
like,
buzzwords.
okay, everybody puts that, and it's like noise.
Yeah.
Having now looked at so many resumes, I'm like, could we have another way to say we're creative than thinking outside the box? And everybody else said, not very creative, not everything outside the box. So you want to show these skills. So you want to make sure you have what's called accomplishment statements. And instead of just listing the job duties you've done or just listing the skills that you have, having these statements that show how you use that skill, how you've used communication, how you've used teamwork, creativity, and all that. Because those are really important. Like you were saying, you don't want just someone who can do the computer, you want someone who can do the computer and the people.
Clearly technical.
Technical.
And show it
I love it.
in the interview, when they ask you a technical question, build that into your technical response, please.
Yeah. Ooh, that's so good.
You didn't build this system on your own. You collaborated, you brought people
That's
in.
so good.
You can show those in your answer in the interview, and I really, really appreciate that.
Well, in my world where it's very dev and engineer heavy, soft skills are what set you apart. So keep that in mind too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for the question.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think it was more aligned to the contractors, and it was about private sector versus public sector, because there's two very different, which is what Chris was speaking to.
Yeah.
Right? But definitely in the private sector, the trend is upwards.
Yep.
Big tech has gone lean, and they still have work to do. Experienced people are like a big hit for contracts right now with the big tech. So I just wanted to distinguish to that, those two sectors, because it is very different.
Right, so the question is about using contractors. Is there a difference between public versus private sector? Is one sector more akin to using contractors more than the other? And why would the difference be there? Is that a good summary?
I think it was more of a statement at this point.
Yeah, just so you'll know, she wants you to know that private sector uses contractors, public sector does not.
Disagree, love the gov. I see so many, yeah, I was gonna say, love my public sector peeps in this
I
room.
don't use public sectors, but like Chris said, they do have caps. right?
Exactly.
They have to turn them around much faster, there's so much more that goes into it. So what I'm seeing right now is the trend with the big tech layoffs is that they're going lean, not necessarily they're going under, but there's so much work still that needs to be done that they're hiring contractors more and more.
Yeah, agreed.
No, I think that's a good example, yeah.
Pick a good staffing company, they're not all the same. They're not all equal.
That's
Some treat you very, very well.
I heard Texas is really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like from my own like personal experience, like decide for yourself if you want to be a contractor.
Yeah.
Honestly, like irrespective of what's happening, like if I personally like feeling like my team is my family. That's not going to work very well as a contractor.
But sometimes it could.
But sometimes it could. Sometimes it could, but
Individual, yeah.
But
But I think back to like that's a great question to ask. Right. Do your contractors get invited to the holiday party?
Yeah.
Do they actually ask those questions as well? Because you're right, because City of Austin does, but some organizations don't, and I don't think, yeah.
Determine the culture of the company.
Exactly.
Good point, yeah. So how do you determine the culture? That's the right way. How do you treat your contractors?
Yeah.
Are they your contractors or are they basically the same as employees?
I love that. Okay, last question, right?
One more.
Better be good in here.
Okay.
I wanted to hear about risk mitigation in the job seekers and full-time work in general, in a contractor economy, and as someone who makes money instead of saving money.
Okay, I am trying
Risk
to.
mitigation.
Yes, so I'm thinking about risk mitigation. Should I be looking for a job? I want to save money, right?
Nope.
I
In
want
general, in a contractor economy, if you already have work, why would you contract? And as someone who makes money instead of saves money.
If I make money instead of save money, why should I look for a new job?
What's the risk mitigation? If you actually get a job, like how do you vet them out? I guess there's a certain point at which you would contract if you hate your job so much.
Right.
Oh, are you asking like as a job seeker or as an employer?
And then, like if you're more of like a sales customer service rep instead of someone else.
Okay, so I'm looking for a job. I want to save money.
Are you saying someone who's not as high salary,
Like
high
you're
earner?
against the economy. Like you don't fit with the economy of taking a contract work. And then like if you are someone that saves money, like what's
You are a risk taker?
Since she's a high salary, and you can money in sales person.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm
We love those people.
Yeah. So I make a ton of money doing sales. Keep doing it.
Yeah. I think again, it's like going into, I'm not saying too, knowing the whole spectrum, right? People leave jobs for different reasons. It's not always about them. You're leaving because you want to be treated fairly. Maybe you're a woman and you don't feel like you see other females in your team. I think the risk mitigation to me is a hard one to answer because everyone leaves a job for different reasons. So I think it's really, again, kind of even like Aaron and Nicole were saying, looking at, do you want a contract? Don't contract if you don't want a contract, but also don't work at that company because they're paying you more money if your mental health is going to struggle. So I think, again, the risk mitigation, you have to look at what's important to you, your skills, your goals, your interests, and how they can apply to you. Because, again, companies need us, but they need you more than you need them. Right. So that's how I would look at it. I would try to fulfill what are you not getting at your current role and try to get that in your next place.
Especially in sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Leveraging your network, right? That's how you get the real answers. The interviewer, the hiring manager who wants you is going to tell you it's a great place to work. They work there. Yeah. But obviously, leverage that. Do those backdoor references. Go on LinkedIn and find someone that you are second connected to that you know works there. Hit them up. If you haven't talked to them in 10 years, we've had this. Yeah. People hit us up after 10 years and they're like, hey, I see you know this person. Can you connect me with them? I'm interviewing there. That is okay. People love to help out. And groups like this, right? So I think that's a great segue. kind of into our next section, right? At all of our events, we talk about who's looking, who's hiring. So again, we've got a physical board over there. We want to track this information. We're going to send this out. We post all of this stuff in our Slack channel as well for our job seekers. We want you to use these networks here. So great place to actually get that real information. So.
We're not completely
yet.
Panelists, thank you very
much. Yes. I know that's why everyone's here.
I know you guys care mostly about this stuff. But we did Q&A already, so let's go to a couple things that we want to let you all know about.
Yes.
Boss ladies, right? So what are some things you can put on your resume to make you really stand out?
Yeah, exactly.
And boss ladies,
I'm a boss.
you have been appointed, nominated, and accepted as a boss lady. And what that means is that Awesome Women in Technology sees you as someone who is going above and beyond to make our organization better, working with nonprofits, making sure that you care about the demographics of the technology industry.
Yeah.
Right? And you're doing something to really help make this world more equitable for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, in December, we celebrated all of our boss ladies. Several of them were nominated and became boss ladies. Stand up if you're here.
Yeah, we've got a lot of boss ladies in this room.
And Laura.
Yeah, Laura.
I love it. We really appreciate you guys. This organization would not function without our volunteers and the other boss ladies.
Yeah, and AWT just turned 20 this year, y'all. So again, we're holding breath by people volunteering. So again, thank you everyone who pours all your work into this. So.
Okay, so most of our events, we have a who's looking, who's hiring section where we pass the mic around and say, talk about the job you're looking for, talk about the job you're hiring for. Okay, we already have 20 jobs posted on our job board.
It's amazing.
And 43 people looking for jobs.
Yeah.
So there's no way we're gonna have time for y'all to talk about jobs.
But we will try to make those connections for you. So again, be specific. Write your name on there, write your email on there. And if we see a job that aligns there, we want to actually use this network to do that, right? If you're both in Slack, we'll introduce you via there. So we'll definitely make sure we make these connections happen.
Right, absolutely. So look for those stickers on people's name tags. We should have a few more minutes for networking after this.
Yeah.
Right, so blue is looking?
Yes.
And green is hiring.
Yeah.
Oh,